talk to millennials with the world that we've handed over to them, or we are handing over to them. And one of the things I want to do before I die is straighten things out. Put America, put the planet back on a course that's going to be sustainable for the future. So that's really the gist of why I'm running for Congress. I'm an engineer by training, by temperament. I have a long career in the high-tech industry, worked for a number of startups. I'm an entrepreneur. I've started 3 companies of my own. Very much a capitalist, though I'm a little different too. I'm a realist. But I became a realist mostly because of the Great Recession. The Great Recession of 2008, by the end of 2010, I was homeless, living out of my car. And I ended up retraining as a truck driver and drove the highways of America for a couple of years, and then drove around here, containers out of the ports for 2 years. And during that time, I studied economics and I studied history, and I realized that the only time things ever get better for the average American is when legislation, federal legislation, is implemented, usually after some social upheaval. And if this past year hasn't been a social upheaval, I don't know what the hell it is, right? It's been a mess out there. So I want to go to Congress to take advantage of this, to change the laws so that life becomes better for all of us, and especially for the next generation, to get on a sustainable path. Yes, the oceans are going to rise 30 feet. That's baked into the system right now. Where we're standing right here now will not be here 100 years from now. Maybe even 50 years from now, the water may be 10 feet higher. But we can do other things to make sure that life is better for our children, our grandchildren, their grandchildren.
In Orangeburg.
Yeah, in Orangeburg, exactly. So as an engineer, though, when I decided to first run for this, and some of you may know I ran as a write-in candidate as an independent in 2014. I did surprisingly well. I ended up getting 6.6% of the vote, almost 9,000 votes, which, as far as I know, is like a world record for write-in candidates. No write-in candidate ever gets more than 2%. So I did really well. But during that campaign, I fell in with a bad crowd. A bad crowd like my good friend Thomas Dixon, and Lewis Smith, Lewis, and Giovanni, and fell in with a bad crowd doing social justice, marching on the streets. And boy, it was a good year to be in a bad crowd the last 2 years, because a lot of shit was happening, we all know. And it changed me. And this year, when I'm running for Congress, I'm doing it mostly on a social justice platform. In fact, I spun it around because I studied economics while I was driving trucks, and I called it economic justice. And I'm happy to see that lots of other people have picked up that same title of economic justice, fighting for economic justice for all of us, for hardworking Americans. That's what I've been fighting for. But as an engineer, I looked at the numbers that I have to achieve to actually win this election. And the best numbers, the most number of people that came out was in the race with this current configuration for the District 1, was with Bobby Rose against Tim Scott in 2012. And Tim Scott got 180,000 votes. Bobby Rose got 104,000. 76,000 votes short, basically a third, almost 2/5 fewer votes than Tim got. And when I talked to some of the political consultants, they said, well, going up against Sanford, he's got $900,000 in the bank. Don't even bother. And that was the recommendation. So I thought, well, I'm just not going to do that. Because I know ideologically, he is the opposite end of me. There could not be a clearer choice between two candidates than that guy and me. So I thought, because I always take on crazy things, I thought, well, this would be good. Let's see if people really want this to happen or not. So I thought, looking at what Elizabeth Colbert Bush did and how many dollars she raised, more than $1 million, and she still lost, but she kind of played it Republican light. I thought, I'm just going to show people who I am, and I am a gloves-off progressive, and I will go to the mat against anybody arguing anything that says progressives don't know what they're doing, that progressives have not improved this country. It's only progressives that have ever made anything better in this country for the average American. And I will fight that with anybody. So I thought, what can I do to get 76,000 votes that Elizabeth somehow missed? And I realized those people are either apathetic voters, and I used to be an apathetic voter, or they're disgusted voters who think all politicians are the same, or they're Republicans who really just haven't had a good reason to vote some other way. Or not. In fact, I've stopped using the term Republicans and Democrats because I found there are so many people that have previously voted Republican their whole lives, and then after a 10-minute conversation with me, they're going to vote for me. So I'm calling people people who have previously voted for Republican candidates instead. So I thought, how can I get out there in front of these people? And a friend in the upcountry suggested, instead of hiking the Appalachian Trail, why don't I bike the low country? So that's why I'm wearing shorts. This is why I had this fabulous tan. And somebody asked me earlier, they didn't know what I was doing here. And so why am I wearing shorts? Because I only have with me, I've been out on the road now just 65 days. I haven't been home. In fact, I don't have a home anymore. I haven't been home in 65 days. I have 4 of these shirts, just like this. I've gone through 3 ties. They get really sweaty and stinky. You can wash silk ties, by the way. They just never quite look exactly the same afterwards. And I have 2 pairs of shorts and 1 pair of shoes, and that's it. I've been biking and towing my little sailboat behind me 800 miles yesterday. And I've got about 200 something to go. I've been going until the end of the month. I'm now heading north. Tonight I'm in Hanahan. Last night I was in Hanahan. I'll be in Goose Creek. We're doing a little fundraiser in Goose Creek tomorrow. You can find it on my Facebook page. And then going up into Monk's Corner, Bono, back down to Sangaree, and then spending all of next week in Somerville, and then coming back into Charleston at the end of the month. And then fortunately somebody's going to loan me a car, and I'm basically doing the whole thing again in a car for the month of October. I'm heading back down south. I haven't been down in Hilton Head now for 60 days or so. That's where I started this whole journey. And it's looking pretty good. I park in front of grocery stores, I park in front of Walmarts, and I just talk to people as they come by. And like I said, about 1/3 of the people that come up and talk to me are people who have previously voted for Republican candidates only. And after a 10 or 15-minute conversation, and this is the key question, I changed the conversation by asking this question. I say, what 1 or 2 things could the federal government do to make your life better? And some people know immediately. A lot of people have to think about it for a while. So sometimes I have to prompt them a little bit. But what it comes down to is everybody I've met agrees on 4 things. Number 1, they say healthcare is my biggest concern. We need to do something about healthcare. Then they say education. We need to either make it so it's debt-free for higher education. We need to make it so it's all zip code independent, equality for education everywhere. And some people say we need to have pre-K training. Basically, put in best practices that are working in all of the test schools, the charter schools. Let's put them in all public schools. Let's fund all these schools together. So that's the second one. Number 3, Social Security. I don't have any retirement left. That's why I was homeless. So I found thousands of people around here that are in the same situation. We're retiring. We are going to be dependent on Social Security only, and that's it. And if you're on Social Security now, you know it's not quite enough to get along. And an awful lot of people that are on Social Security who thought maybe they're going to have a good retirement are now working at Walmart, things like that. And the fourth thing is veterans benefits. And everybody agrees that we need to take care of our veterans. Well, all four of those things can't happen in Washington. And it just pisses me off. When you think about it, here are four things that everybody I talk to, whether they're Republicans or Democrats or conservatives or liberals or whatever they are, we all agree on those four things. And our people in Washington can't get it together to implement those four things. They're still fighting about those four things. They can't even implement anything. And why is that? Because of the money in politics. People are more focused on raising money for their next election and supporting the people that gave them the money than they are about working for us. You know, a study was done a few years ago from Princeton where they looked at something like 2,000 pieces of legislation from the late 70s to the early 2000s. And they discovered out of all those pieces of legislation that were done in the federal government, something like 2% of them actually went along with what the mass of Americans wanted. The rest of them went along with what the wealthy donors and private business industries, their interests wanted. So we don't have a democracy anymore. This is why I want to go to Congress.